I'm Matt.
And I'm Rissa.
And we're here to teach you how to have an exceptional life.
So what should people look for in a coach?
This guy.
So tall, dark, and handsome? What do you look for in coaching? I know you do coaching for other people, but you also have coaches. What do you look for?
Yes, I do. And one of the things I want to emphasize is, much like I would be concerned if my therapist didn't do therapy, I think you should be concerned if your coach doesn't have a coach, because it's a philosophical argument. What do I look for in a coach? For me, I want a coach who's going to talk to me the way I talk to my clients. Not a surprise, right? I'm arrogant. I think I know better. It frustrates me when I'm around people who are dumber than me, etc. That's who I am by default, right? So for me, having a coach who is as smart as me, or who is going to talk to me in the language that I listen to, is very important. There's all kinds of coaches out there. I live in Austin, Texas. You can walk into any coffee shop and find 5 different coaches there, right? It's not a protected term. Coaches who emphasize spirituality, coaches who emphasize the secret, that doesn't resonate with me. It just doesn't motivate me. I don't believe in it, right? For me, having a coach who deals with, okay, what are the thoughts that are going through your head? Are those thoughts accurate? Who have you promised to be? What have you committed to? What were the thoughts and feelings you had when those things didn't occur? That's the thing that motivates me. That's the thing that impacts me.
So I feel like you're kind of touching on different types of coaching. What kinds of coaching are there?
So there's, as many different types of coaching as there are coaches, which are a lot. Some people separate it into business coaching versus personal coaching versus relationship coaching. Some people do the spirituality, the woo-woo, the universe. For me, what I do, I term rational coaching. I'm going to tell you what I mean with every word that I use. I will even reference dictionary definitions so we don't have to have an argument about it. We're going to just have conversations about, why are you the way you are? Why is that similar to me in some ways, right? Everybody deals with, if they can't get to sleep at 3 in the morning, it's not because their brain's telling them, you're the best. I know, brain, but we've got the big presentation tomorrow, but it's going to go so great. We should start celebrating. No, right? Your brain tells you all the things that you're going to mess up, all the things that have gone wrong, etc. That's common for human beings. But there are parts of you that are also different than me. You want to emphasize certain things that I don't. I want to emphasize certain things that you don't. Well, why are we different? How do we focus on what moves us forward, etc.?
I wish my brain told me how awesome I am at night.
Wouldn't it be so great, right? Another example I use is, if your phone rings at 2 a.m., nobody ever goes, yes, I just won the lottery. I don't know why they're calling me so late, but this is going to be the best news ever, right? It's who's dead, who's drunk, who's in jail, right? It's never good news, even though we have no idea what's on the other side of that.
Why does our brain go so negative, do you think?
It's a great question. Again, I could do a 20-minute video on this one, right? But the world has evolved much faster than our brains have. We're at the top of the food chain now. We were not always. So if there's a rustling in the bushes and I have to decide, is that a rabbit? And maybe it's my dinner, or it's a saber-toothed tiger, in which case I'm dinner. We default to the safe option, right? I can go without a rabbit as long as I make sure I don't get killed today. My genes stay in the gene pool. But our brains have not evolved as fast as the world has. I don't know if you've noticed, I haven't seen saber-toothed tigers in quite a while.
I mean, I have seen a couple.
So our brains still focus on safety, comfort.
Yep.
How do I make sure I don't die? And how do I make sure I'm not super uncomfortable? And our brainstem, our limbic system, our amygdala all push for that direction. Safety.
Yep, that makes sense. I feel like you're about to touch on, but haven't quite named it, like the machinery. And you talk a lot about that in coaching.
Yeah.
What is the machinery?
It's a great question. One of the things that I have clients notice is just how automatic most of our life is, right? I don't regulate my breathing. I don't have to concentrate on circulating my blood. When I walk, once I'm past the age of 3 or 4, and in most mental conditions, I just walk in a straight line. I don't worry about balance or proprioception. All of that is handled automatically, mechanistically by my brain. What sets human beings apart from other species is that we have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, which can work independently of that brainstem. My cat is a conscious being. My cat doesn't know she's a cat. So when she wants food, she yells for food. When she wants to be picked up, she comes and jumps on me. There's no long-term thinking to, is this what matters? It also means that when she lays for 20 hours in her hammock, she's not sitting there going, am I fulfilling on my cat potential? Am I going to leave a legacy behind that other cats will remember me when I'm gone? No, she just sleeps. Why? Because she wants to sleep. Human beings spend most of their life doing the same thing. I feel a way, therefore I take an action that is aligned with how I feel. But human beings have the ability to be conscious that they are conscious. In other words, we can see our machinery. Now, it requires effort. We have to spend a whole lot more calories thinking, which human beings are adverse to doing. But we have that ability, and you've done it. There are times where you felt angry and been loving. There are times where you felt tired and been outgoing. Yes?
Of course.
Yeah. It's just harder. That's what I get to train people to do, is to notice their machinery. The machinery doesn't go away. As far as I know, the machinery stops one time and it is permanent. We're not going that route, right? But noticing that I have machinery, noticing that I have certain thoughts and feelings that show up on a regular basis, and that I can choose to behave differently, that's the power. That's the power of coaching.
What makes an exceptional life unique?
An exceptional life is unique because it's an exception to the norm, right? For most people, what they think normal is doesn't make them happy. An exceptional life is about giving people lives that are exceptions to the norm. My coaching is also an exception to the norm of what coaching is. So with most coaches, you work with them once a week, you show up for your appointment, congratulations. In my experience, real life doesn't happen that way. If I have my coaching meeting on Friday, Bob's a jerk on Monday. That's when I need to work, right? So with an exceptional life, when you hire me, we do a 3-month package, and I am your coach from the start of the first meeting to the end of our final meeting and every point in between. I tell people I'm not on call. If you call me at 3 a.m. for coaching, were I to answer the phone, you do not want my coaching at 3 a.m., right? But I'll respond to you as soon as possible. And if you call me at 4 o'clock and I happen to be available, I'll answer the phone and we'll talk then. I don't care how often we talk. We've got to talk a minimum of once a week, though. In my experience, people don't go more than a week without having something to deal with. The other part is the 3 months. I don't want to be your coach forever. No offense, right? I adore you. And what I'm trying to give people is access to being able to deal with life when life happens. And I won't be there with you that entire time. So we take the first 3 months to work together and go through about 75 different distinctions, ways of looking at the world. Fact versus belief, machinery, etc., to give you the ability to do the hard work, right? And it takes about 3 months for me to set that baseline. And then I would love to work with you for another 3 months where we just practice that. But after that, I'm a crutch. Don't work with me ongoingly. Purchase a call package, use me when necessary. We always have options for taking your money. But don't just be with me for the rest of your life. And it's a power dynamic that's in play. If I'm your coach, you're coming to me because you think I see things you don't see. That makes it very difficult for you to be able to go, so I think I'm better now. I'm all good. I don't want to pay you anymore. Goodbye. It's just a difficult thing. And look, I've been with my cell phone provider for 22 years. But if a different cell phone provider offers me a better deal, I'm gone tomorrow, right? With 3 or 6 months of working together, we have a designated ending point where we stop and you go live your life. And then if you want to do it again, we come back and we have that discussion. I think that's very powerful for people to not have to be wondering, well, should I do this 1 more time? Should I do this 5 more times? Is this just a thing I do for the rest of my life? Am I going to be okay without it, etc.? Those are exactly the opposite of the thoughts I want to give my clients.
So one thing that brings up for me is like, what do people do if they have a bad coach? And I'm kind of thinking maybe a bad coach is one who's trying to keep you forever. Like,
yes, if your coach is telling you you can't function without them, you absolutely have a bad coach. I don't know that there's, in general, such thing as a bad coach. What there is a bad fit.
oh, okay.
You want to make sure that you and your coach speak in a way that works for you. So if you're somebody who does auras and empowerment, you want to find out that your coach talks about auras and empowerment. I'm not that person, right? If you want to make sure that your coach talks about rationality and why did you do the thing and has conversations where you give pushback, you want to find a coach who does that. That's my style of coaching. If you find that you're in a situation where you and your coach aren't working out, I recommend stopping coaching. Just like I would recommend in any situation where you realize something's not producing the result that you want, first thing to do is stop the action. The great thing about 99% of the coaches out there is they don't want you to have a bad fit. So you can always, 99% of the time, work with a coach in advance. Every coach I know has a half-hour to hour-long free call where you work with them. You talk about what you want to get. They talk about what they can promise. They talk about their style. You can find out if that fit is there in advance. And sometimes, even in that situation, it doesn't work out. I recommend finding out how do you get out of that situation. That's the one thing to consider in a contractual relationship, like with me, where you work together for 3 months. It can be daunting to realize 3 weeks in, this hasn't worked out, I'm trapped now. Make sure that your coach has a plan for that. For me, if I have a client who within the first month says, I don't think this is working out, I can't do this, this isn't what I thought it would be or whatever, they're off the hook and full refund. I've had to emphasize that 1 time.
All right, Matt. So what next?
So now you send an email to hello@anexceptionallife.com. That puts you on our exclusive insiders mailing list, and I promise I will read every email you send me. It also gives you first access to our free 24 hours of coaching. Finally, thank you. Your time is valuable, and you've chosen to spend it with us. We really appreciate it.